Hello everyone, welcome to the video wall, not Maria, but Rich, alongside Louis Scott-Vargas, and we're going to do the first of our draft archetype blueprints. Now, let's do some legal disclaimers here. This is not the best example of a deck that you will ever build. I sincerely hope, for your sake, it's not the best ever. So, what is the sort of goal of the blueprint, if you like, Louis?
So what we're trying to do here today is kind of demonstrate what an average kind of archetype of this particular build of deck would look like, and kind of like, so you have a signpost of what to expect. Right.
So, for example, today we're going to talk about apple and keyline and pumpkin. How does your pie rate? Because we're going to talk about the pirates indeed. Grixis pirates, and what does Grixis mean? What is that?
So Grixis is the term actually from Shards of Alara for the three-color shard of red, black, and blue. So when those three colors are combined, we just call it Grixis.
All right, now there are three colors of pirates, but they broadly come in the three fleets. So you've got red, blue, blue, black, and black, red. So what are the differences between them, sort of in partly flavorfully, but also mechanically? What are the differences?
So each of them plays a little bit differently. Red-black is the most aggressive of all the fleets, is the dire fleet, and you can see by looking at kind of their captains in the uncommon spot. You have the dire fleet captain, which is red-black for a 2/2, and every attack gets +1/+1 for each attacking pirate. So that's the aggressiveness of the red-black fleet. Blue-black's a little more controlling. This archetype kind of has Siren's Ruse at common as one of the cards that really headline that, which lets you exile a pirate, bring it back, draw a card. And then red-blue is kind of a mix in between the two. It's got raid triggers that give you card advantage. It's got Marauding Looter, which lets you loot every turn.
Love that card.
So the combination of these three fleets is kind of how you get to the Pirates deck.
Okay, so here you see they're appearing in blue, black, and red. You've got an example here, the raid trigger there. Here's a dire fleet hoarder, the headstrong brute, the 3/3 menace. And as you can see, there's a very good chance that you could go elsewhere. Indeed, we saw in the draft today, sounds like Ken Yukihiro was blue-black pirates using treasure to splash into, was it Regisaur Alpha?
It was, which is a red-green card, but because he's got cards like Prosperous Pirates or Contract Killing, those cards enable it all by itself. You don't even need any mountains or forests in your deck to cast that card.
That's just disgusting. All right, let's talk about the curve. And the curve means we start on turn 1 with your 1-drops. So what have we got? Well, there are no creatures in this typical deck. We've got a March of the Drowned. Now, these two cards are very much not the same. Yes, they both cost 1, but in terms of the gameplay, where would you put March of the Drowned? It's over by your right shoulder, right?
It's a card you're typically not going to cast until turn 6 or 7.
Okay, but Skullduggery, a card I know you like very much.
Skullduggery I'm a really big fan of. It's the critical turns of 3 through 5, Skullduggery really overperforms. It's 1 mana, will often trade for more mana, sometimes even multiple cards.
So again, although both at 1, you're probably not playing either of them on 1. Let's move on, and we'll start at 2 now with some actual creatures coming your way. And here we go, and we get all 3 flavors, 3 colors. You've got the Fathom Fleet Firebrand, you've got the Dire Fleet Hoarder, and then talk to me about Kitesail Freebooter. How often does that hit, first of all?
Kitesail Freebooter, if you draw it in your opening hand, you play it on turn 2, it's going to almost always hit. Most people are going to have some kind of non-creature spell for you to take. But even late game, it gives you information, and it's a 1/2 flyer, which works perfectly with all the raid cards in your deck.
Now, Walk the Plank, that's a straightforward removal spell, obviously, and a great piece of flavor as you imagine dinosaurs walking the plank. That's just awesome. This Perilous Voyage, though, we saw Christian Calcano drafting black-red auras. Clearly, that's absurdly powerful against something like that, but in general, what's the power level of Perilous Voyage?
It's a solid card. It's a good tempo play because you're going to spend 2 mana and you're going to bounce something ideally that costs 4 or 5 mana. So if you go creature, they play their Grazing Whiptail to stabilize. You Perilous Voyage at attack, maybe play another creature, and then you end up ahead.
So they're super far behind at that point. With 5 2-drops in our typical sample list, is that enough to pretty much guarantee that if we're on the play, we go land something?
You really want to hit your 2-drop, and with 5 2-drops, you're going to do a decent job with it.
All right, let's go on to our 3-drops coming up. And wow, now this is where the meat of the deck is. Remember, we're going to end up with 22, 23 actual cards in our deck, plus a bunch of land. And we've got 4 creatures and 4 spells down here. We've sort of pushed the boat out a little bit here. Siren Lookout is such a lovely card.
It is, and it's one of the reasons this deck can get away with playing 3 colors. Because if you look at this, a typical deck with blue 2-drop, red 2-drop, black 2-drop, doesn't really function. Like
It's messy,
That's not
isn't
how
it?
you can build most limited decks.
Right.
But because of cards like Siren Lookout would let you explore for land or bin cards you can't cast, because of cards like Sailor of Means or Depths of Desire that produce treasure, you're kind of able to get away with this.
Right, so a couple of pirate synergies here, pirate incentives, one might say. Lightning Rig Crew untaps itself whenever you get to cast a pirate spell. And Pirate's Cutlass, if we add up the 3 that we cast, plus the 2 to equip, for a pretty mediocre bonus, that is not an exciting card. But let's say, you know, Fathomfleet Firebrand on 2, into Pirate's Cutlass on 3. Hello, 4/3 attacker on turn 3. This is a really, actually a very good card in this archetype.
It's great. It's perfect on Siren Lookout. Even on Sailor of Means, makes it into a 3/5, and Pirate's Cutlass has really risen in a lot of people's estimation.
We've already talked about Walk the Plank, but we've got a couple more removal spells here in Vanquish the Weak and Fire Cannon Blast. The general rule about removal on Ixalan is that it's a little bit clunky, a little bit suboptimal. You don't want to be trying to rely on it all the way through. In terms of gameplay, are you going to be pretty cautious with these? Are you going to hoard them as far as possible?
You don't mind firing off Vanquish the Weak or Fire Cannon Blast. You would like to save the Blast because it's one of the few cards in your deck that can kill their 5/5s. Depths of Desire and Perilous Voyage, both, like the bounce spells, you do kind of want to save those till a little bit later because you want to have established a board presence before you cast Depths of Desire. Whereas with Vanquish the Weak, sometimes you just cast it turn 3 to kill their 2-drop.
All right, on we go. Let's take a look at the 4s and see what we've got. Well, Tempest Caller, that's, I'm not a big fan of that because I hate losing to it. I hate sitting there and it's like, we're playing out a game and then, oh, and all your guys are tapped, thanks. But Marauding Looter, I love that card.
Marauding Looter is excellent. It's one of the better uncommons, and alongside any creature that gets to continuously attack will give you something to do with the excess lands you draw in the middle of the game.
Now, talking of excess lands, we've got some treasure in this deck. We watch so many players drafting through the week here, and if you've been playing on Magic Online at your local game store, you will know that a lot of game ends with players plenty of land in play, plenty of treasure in play. Those excess lands are a really big deal in this format to get rid of.
There aren't that many mana sinks. You have like the Cycle of Keepers at common, but those are pretty expensive. They cost 8. So cards like Marauding Looter are extremely valuable.
All right, so on we go. Let's see what's at 5. What have we got here? Prosperous Pirates and the Deadeye Plunderers. Now that, talking of scaling things, Deadeye Plunderers is a card that can really get out of hand in the late game.
Clearly, you can play this, and sometimes it'll be a 5/5 right away, but I've seen this card get up to like 10/10.
Yep.
You can give it enough time and enough lands, you're just going to keep accumulating treasure, and the pirates will become, well, more and more prosperous.
And I guess that's why something like maybe a Contract Killing would be an upgrade on the Unfriendly Fire. We've said, hey, most of the time maybe you're going to pick up one of these at common. A big fan of Contract Killing?
Contract Killing is excellent.
All right, so those are our 5s. Let's see if we've got anything further up the chain. Once we get past 5, what have we got? Let's take a look. That's the deck, so 6 swamps, 6 islands, 5 mountains, not quite Satan's mana base, but we're getting close. Look, try and prioritize, because I think if you didn't know that this was a Pirates deck, if we took the top off the deck and just went, there's 7, 8 black cards, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 blue cards, 4 red cards that you're not 5, that you're not really splashing for, this looks horrible as a deck. But this is quite good. Why?
In general, you would really prefer to be something like 7/7/3 in your mana base, but because of the treasure cards, you get to stretch that a little bit. And if you look at the cards in the deck, the multiple explore cards, the 4 or 5 treasure cards, these cards, and even like Scry on Perilous Voyage, for example, these cards smooth out your draws and make it so this is more consistent than it might otherwise look.
Right, so I guess what we're looking to do is have people be a little bit disciplined. If they can, bulk it towards one of the 3 pairs, and then, okay, I'm going to splash for my removal, and maybe a Lightning Rigger or Marauding Looter. So do try not to be that completely flat, what I might call see your deck version of Pirates, where it's like everything that says Pirate, yeah, just jam them in 6/6/6. So there we go. That's Grixis Pirates. There are certainly ways to upgrade the deck. How would you rate it within the framework overall of Ixalan Draft? How good are Pirates?
Pirates is quite good. I think that if Pirates is open, it's got one of the most powerful commons in Pirates Cutlass. It's got a lot of good removal, and overall I think it's one of the better decks.
I hate to talk about grammar, but it wouldn't be Pirates is quite good. Wouldn't it be Pirates are quite good? Rich Hagon for Luis Scott-Vargas here at the Video Wall.